brought to you by oneaauto.com, your source for quality parts and the best service on the internet.
Hi, I'm Mike from 1A Auto. I hope this how-to video helps you out. And next time you need parts for your vehicle, think of oneaauto.com. Thanks.
In this video, we're going to show you how to replace the lower rearward control arm in this 2007 Audi A4. You'll need a Phillips and flat blade screwdriver, 90-degree pick or center cap removal tool, 10 to 18 millimeter sockets with a ratchet and extensions, along with wrenches the same size, penetrating oil, a hammer, pickle fork, torque wrench, and jack and jack stands.
Remove the quarter-turn flat blade fasteners at the bottom of the bumper. Normally, there are 3 here. There are several underneath. A lot of these bumpers are missing these fasteners. They've become cracked, damaged, lost, what have you. So just find all the ones you can. A few more at the back. A couple of Phillips. Occasionally these are Torques at the front of the wheel wells. Remove the screws inside the wheel well. Will allow you to remove the belly pan from the bottom of the car. Using a 90-degree hooked pick, remove the center cap from your wheel. We also have the actual Audi tool for removing the center cap available on oneaauto.com. Crack your lug nuts loose with a 17 millimeter socket and a breaker bar. With the vehicle raised and supported, remove your lug bolts the rest of the way and take the wheel off. Just to give you a heads up before you get started, we've been soaking the subframe bolts for the rear of the lower control arms in penetrating oil for 3 or 4 days now. These bolts are very, very prone to being stuck, rusted, frozen into the bushings. So we recommend if you can, if your control arms have a little bit of time, that you begin to soak these, let it get in there for a few days, soak them every night or before you go to work, and let them work in through there over a couple of days. It'll really make this process easier for you when the time comes to change them. Using an 18 millimeter breaker bar socket on the bolt end, an 18 millimeter box end wrench on the nut, break the bolt loose. With the bolt loose in the subframe but not removed, use an 18 millimeter wrench to remove the nut on the top of the ball joint. Be careful not to put any downward pressure on the control arm while you're doing this. If it pops out of the spindle, then the nut is just going to spin. It's going to be a lot harder to move. Using a pickle fork, keeping it up tight to the spindle, remove the lower control arm. Remove the bolt at the back of the control arm. Remove the 10 millimeter nut with a socket and ratchet, this brake line cover. Pull the cover out of the way. Remove the bolt and the lower control arm from the subframe. Install your new control arm. Line up the bolt at the rear. Be sure not to tighten the bolt through the bushing until the control arm is installed in the spindle and you have the vehicle's weight on the suspension. Reinstall the rearward lower control arm into the spindle. Install the nut. If you can get a torque wrench in there, torque it to 81 foot-pounds. Using a screw jack if you're on a lift, or a floor jack if you're working with the jack and jack stands. Load up the bottom of the spindle until the suspension is in the normal ride height position. When the screw jack or floor jack begins to lift the vehicle by the suspension, you've reached the highest point. The lowest point is with the suspension hanging. Your normal ride height will be in the middle of those two. Tighten the rear control arm with an 18mm socket and ratchet and wrench. Torque the bolt to 52 foot-pounds. Reinstall plastic cover over the brake lines and the 10mm nut. Remove the weight of the vehicle from the suspension. Reinstall the wheel onto the hub. It helps if you send a lug bolt through and hold it with a 17mm socket on the other side. Start the first bolt by hand to help keep the wheel in place. Torque the lug bolts to 90 foot-pounds in a cross pattern. The slots on the back of the lug cap are staggered. Be sure to align them before installing. Reinstall your lower engine cover. Reinstall whatever fasteners you had to remove for the belly pan. In our case, they're mostly quarter-turn flat blades. Yours may be secured with something different.
Thanks for tuning in. We hope this video helped you out. Next time you need parts for your car, please visit 1aauto.com. Also check out our other helpful how-to as well as diagnosis videos.